Okay.
She, quote, wants nothing more than for time to pass so people won't be talking about the Howard scandal anymore. We're told Lori's been offered many opportunities to open up about what she has been through, but she can't seem to find the right words. As for Felicity, another source tells us her life is back to normal, both her daughters are thriving in college, and she will not be watching the documentary. Director Chris Smith says getting caught will always be some
Often they were talking about, wanting to make sure that it's really clean. I don't think that there was a sense that it was that.
You don't have to go to college.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, look at that fucker dance.
In any case, you're entering the heat death of the universe, audience. I'm talking to you. And it is 11:01 a.m. Korea Standard Time on April
10 minutes early.
15th. No, it's not. It's April 12th, 2021, the year of our Lord and Savior,
Jesus
L.
Christ.
Ron Hubbard.
Jesus Christ.
And Jesus Christ.
That's right.
And a third one to make it the Trinity.
Michelle Obama.
All right, you've given me some episode artwork ideas now.
Do you think the president used the key?
Say what?
The key. We're going to talk about the key today.
Oh, I forgot it was called that. I'm
Sounds
guessing
like The Secret.
no, because he was actually an accomplished student. Like, for any grief that I'll give Obama, he is a smart person and academically.
Oh, that's not what I meant. I meant for his daughters.
Oh, I don't know anything about them. And I don't think he would need that. I don't think he would need some 2-bit con artist like Rick Singer to help his daughters get, hey, I'm only the most famous man and most powerful man on the planet.
Why did you automatically shortcut to Obama? Maybe I was talking about Trump. Actually,
Didn't you say Obama?
Probably. I think I just said the president, but
Really?
But
I'm gonna
yeah,
go
but-
back and check the tape.
Yeah, but in my head, I was like, of course he's not talking about Donald Trump. At least in my head, because it's hard for me to imagine that Ivanka actually went to university, but I'm sure she did.
Were you thinking Trump when you asked me that?
No, I was actually thinking of Obama.
Because I believe you said Obama, but anyway.
Being silly.
No, I don't think any president has to sink that low. And because they're just on a different tier of wealth than the families that would use Rick Singer's ingenious side door policies.
But it did look like, according to the documentary we watched, which we'll tell the audience we watched.
Yeah, let's just keep talking about the about the details that happened later in the movie first.
According to that, Jared Kushner's family used some type of key to get him into university.
But he was an example of a backdoor key, a backdoor guy. They didn't hire out like some third party huckster like Rick Singer. It was because his dad went to Harvard and donated a bunch of money to Harvard. That's the typical like backdoor way. I believe. Did I misread that part?
No, you're right. I was just gonna say Jared Kushner is a backdoor guy.
Is it some sort of innuendo, sir? We don't
No.
sink that low on this podcast.
That's true. I apologize.
What are we talking about? We're talking about
Bad taste.
college admissions scandal of 2019. I don't know why it seems even longer ago to me than that, but I guess that is right. It is right.
I think it's because it's pre-pandemic. Like 2019 does seem like a long time ago to me.
Do you know some clever people call those times the before times?
I think I've called it the before times on the podcast before, months ago.
Yeah, we have. And I've also made a snarky comment about how too many people started using that phrase as if they invented it or something. Not referring to you, just podcast stuff I was listening to in general. It was one of those verbal memes that was going around that I've noticed has stopped, I think. So let's bring it back. Now we're original.
I remember when the before times referred to before Trump.
Did people use it that way?
I think I've heard it used that way in like for Trump also.
Yeah, I guess that
Pre-pandemic, post-Trump, or post-Trump? During Trump? What do you call it when something's actively happening?
Present.
Present Trump.
Present day Trump. The Trumpening. Ongoing Trumpening.
The Trumpian years.
Mm-hmm. So we were talking about the college admissions scandal, which, until like just recently, when looking into it a little more, I didn't know like the extent of it. I didn't know anything about the mastermind of it. What I get the impression of just from like hearing a few sound bites was that these two like sort of C-level actresses had gotten their kids into Ivy League schools by paying a bunch of money. So that shows that I didn't really care to like look into the details. To me it just sounded like more of the same. But it is a little different than that. They weren't, and it was way more people than just those two actresses. But
I doubt they caught all the people that were actually involved.
Oh, no way.
Even though they indicted like 50 people.
I mean,
I think that's what they said.
I keep wanting to call him Rick Snyder. Rick Singer.
I keep wanting to call him Rick Snyder too.
Rick Singer himself.
A much better story had this been orchestrated by Rick Snyder.
He's already so rich. Yeah, but yeah, that would be much weirder.
All right, I'm just picturing going to Rick Snyder to get my kid into college.
Rick Snyder is not a hard worker, so for all of we're really going about this in a backwards way. We should just explain what happened and then get into the details.
Yeah, let's do it.
There exists a man named Rick Singer. He's like a glorified like 2-bit con man. I mean, I'll just put it out there. I know it's controversial, but that's how I'll characterize him. And what he would do is he was what was called like an independent college counselor, something like that,
Sure.
which is apparently a legitimate profession. And I guess I could see it being used legitimately. It does seem sort of like snake oil, like even if you're not just ripping people off. But in any case,
It's an elevated tutor.
exactly, yeah, it's like a way overpaid tutor, and he used that position to get families that, like, I would characterize them as being rich, but like being on like the lower tier of being rich. So like that was his whole
Billionaires.
Yeah, but to illustrate my reasoning for saying they're on the lower tier of rich, I would say is because he would explain to them, like, you don't have enough money to actually bribe the college through donations, which is like what a lot of people are aware that happens, and it's pretty common practice for like the ultra wealthy. Or, you know, if you have like if it's like a legacy thing where, like, I don't know, George W. Bush's what did he call his dad? Poppy. If your Poppy and Grandpoppy and great Grandpoppy all went to Yale, like, you would get into Yale no matter how shitty you were. And I'm sure that
Grandpoppy. This is just a little aside, but your great Grandpoppy could have went to Yale or Harvard when they were 13, because both of those universities often admitted like 10 to 13-year-olds when they were more of different times.
I didn't know that.
I guess that's great Grandpoppy, maybe.
That's interesting. So it was like treated like a almost like a boarding school or something for the
Yeah,
for the
it
rich.
was still called a university, and it was definitely for the rich, but often people would start as early as 13. Like, you would strike out from like your small city in the Midwest to the East Coast or West Coast, and go. And this was before like current university systems where you're like doing majors. Like, it predated majors, but you would do like the old academic system where you learned like Greek and Latin and all the you learned the stuff that other smart people knew, because there was like a curriculum of like basically what smart people knew, so everyone learned the same thing, got this well-rounded education.
Right. It does sort of seem like almost it's just like almost like what would you call that? Finishing school. It's like a finishing school for like would-be aristocrats. Like, all right, they were already rich, but they just weren't like living like within like the East Coast, like wealthy social circles yet. So they like start them early. I mean, this is me just guessing. So yeah, like, I mean, I guess this con artist, Rick Singer, he broke down like the three ways you get into like an elite university as the front door, which is for fucking losers who can get in on completely on their own merits, you know, like they're actually good students, they meet all the whatever criteria.
I've known one or two people like that.
Yeah, it happens. I think increasingly less and less so, probably, but that's just my gut feeling.
I wasn't one of those people.
Oh, when you went to Harvard?
I mean, that's why I didn't go to Harvard. I've never had a merit.
You were one of the people that couldn't make the front door?
Or the side door.
But
or
you
the back
applied to
door.
all the Ivies?
I did try to parachute in.
Into Oxford? From Johnsonville, Tennessee?
Yes, Johnson City, not Johnsonville.
I'm sorry.
City.
I'm sorry.
You just got to think of the song Wagon Wheel, the one song my hometown is mentioned in.
I don't know that song. Or maybe I do, and I don't know that's the title.
You probably know it.
Okay. I'll look it up. I apologize. You know what?
It's written by Bob Dylan.
Huh?
The song is by Bob Dylan.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm not a big Bob Dylan head. What was I going to say?
On to Rick Snyder.
Singer. Brian Snyder, Rick Singer. No, I was just gonna explain that my cheese-filled Wisconsin brain is what made me say Johnsonville, because that's a brand of bratwurst, I believe.
I buy them from Coupon.
Oh, really?
They're good. It's like the best bratwurst you can get in Korea.
Breakfast
basically.
meats.
Yep. I'm a big sausage head. That sounds terrible.
I mean, like, sexual implication, like innuendo aside, it's just a funny image. Man, we're so good at staying on track. Okay,
it's okay.
I know. I just have to point it out because I'm self-conscious. I have to point out being self-conscious because I'm meta self-conscious all the way down. So the basic scam was, I didn't even finish the doors, the 3 doors. Front door, own merits, very rare. Rick Singer would tell families, ain't gonna happen. Your kid, you know, you guys are rich, you can pay for all the best tutors, but your kid doesn't cut it. Your kid's a dumbass.
Even if the kid did cut it, he would tell the parents that, though.
Well, right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of the times they probably didn't, but that's going to be a whole other part of the discussion, just about how these Ivy Leagues operate anyway. But then there's the back door, which is like the old money, which we were just kind of talking about. It tends to be old money. Like you got to be very wealthy, like not necessarily a billionaire, but like a multi-millionaire, like hundreds of millions of dollars probably, where you can or maybe not even that much, but I think he said, like, I think in the movie, which is Levin said the name of, he says, you've got to be prepared to cut at least like a $20 million check, like yearly, if you want to do that backdoor route. And maybe he's amplifying the amount because he's trying to convince these people to pay him money. So anyway, but then to these like lower tier but still very wealthy people, he seemed like a bargain. Like, wow, all I have to do is give this guy like $200, $300, $400, maybe $500,000, and he'd get my kid into Harvard. We keep saying Harvard, but a lot of the examples were like, what was it, USC and it's like Stanford and stuff like that. But anyway, it's all like Ivy League.
He was a West Coast guy.
That's right. Yeah, he's based out of California, so that's probably why.
But I'm sure he got kids into those type of schools too, such as Harvard. But you know, Stanford, it's almost as good as Harvard.
So when we were talking about like how many people didn't get caught up in this scandal that did this stuff, he claimed somewhere to have done this with about 700 families over the course of like 7 years, and he made. The FBI's numbers were that he made $25 million from 2011 to 2018.
Can I make a quick aside here?
Go ahead.
This always amazes me about people like Rick Snyder. First off, I could never imagine making $25 million. Like, I think it's literally impossible for me to make that much money. But also, like, I can't imagine, like, me, like, keeping going. Like, I'd make, like, the first meal and be like, oh, done forever.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good point. That was a thing I was thinking about a lot, even more so on the second watch, which, okay,
yeah.
We're all out of order, but whatever. This is the heat death of the universe experience. We watched a documentary about this scandal that is pretty new to Netflix, I believe, just recently went up, called Operation Varsity Blues.
Named after the FBI operation.
Yes, the FBI's operations. Very clever name. I never saw that movie, Varsity Blues.
I definitely did when it came out, but I was young. That movie's old.
It was all the rage. I seem to remember.
It had that Foo Fighters song.
No,
it was like theme. I thought they used the Foo Fighters, what is it? Their most popular song. I don't fucking remember. I never cared about the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I wasn't really into them. But I think you were about to say Hero or My Hero.
My Hero, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was like the trailer theme music or something.
Oh, that song sucks. Anyway.
tangents.
For some reason, seeing the operation's name, I was like, should I watch Varsity Blues? It's like this real head scratcher moment for me. Like, do I need to watch that to understand the late 90s? In any case,
I don't think so.
Probably not. No. So yes, this new documentary, and the style of the documentary is a combination of like reenactments, dramatized reenactments, and then like interviews with like various talking heads. Like they were like test prep experts and federal prosecutors. I think an FBI agent or two had some actual like testimony within the film. People like that, then people who work for the colleges, admissions directors, blah blah blah, and then people that used to work with Rick Singer and his girlfriend, his like ex-girlfriend or something. And Matthew Modine, I like that guy. I think he's a pretty good actor. He plays Rick Singer pretty well. And and all of the dramatized stuff is based, like, from what they specify in the movie, 100% on like all of the many hours of bugged phone conversations had between the parents and between Rick Singer. I had to keep reminding myself that those were real conversations because they sound like Neil Breen dialogue.
Do they?
Well, I thought so. Some of them, like, maybe not quite that. Like, I was like, wait, like Matthew Modine's a good actor, so it's not his acting that's the problem. But like sometimes when it shows them talking on the phone, they're just telegraphing so specifically their crimes over the phone. Did you notice that?
Yeah, but I think that they even bring it up in the movie that a lot of these people are the type of people who literally feel like they're safe and can do whatever they want to.
That's part of it, I think, for sure. I think that's part of it. Maybe part stupidity as well, I think.
Candid. And it's also possible that some of these people just felt like what they were doing wasn't actually illegal. Like, as in, they realized it wasn't right, but if it ever came down to it, it's like...
I don't know, man. Maybe some of them, but like the examples they show in the film, like even one of them, the guy literally goes... Listen, Rick, I'm a lawyer, so I'm a rules-oriented guy. And the fact that they're hiding it from their kids, that's like another big point in the movie is that all these parents, but they're saying stuff to Rick Singer like, look, is this gonna like blow up in our face? Like, would my kid be culpable? Like, they know goddamn well it's illegal what they're doing. Like, how could you not really? But to them, they think it's like, oh, but this is white collar crime, so it's not a big deal. Or they maybe think they obviously don't think they're being recorded. But like, yeah, I think it's a combination of like entitlement, being stupid, just in general for some of them. Maybe just being delusional. Like they think like, oh, well, this is just the way things are done. Like in my social strata, like this is how we get things done. Like it's just networking, and we're paying this guy to network for us because
pay to win society.
But then beyond that, there are times when Rick Singer says to the parents, like, there was one example where it was when he's talking to one of the lawyer guys, like the lawyer who's trying to get his kid into whatever college, and he gets kind of annoyed with the guy because the guy keeps asking these like nervous questions, and he's like, look, I already explained to you how this works. And he's like, all right, let me explain it again. And like, this is all transcript directly from the phone calls, you know? He's like, first, you're going to fly your daughter out to LA or whatever as a fake recruiting trip. He's just like laying it all out there, like all the fraud. He's like, then she's going to take the, whatever, what was it, the SAT or ACT?
The ACT. The movie seemed to do the ACT more than the SAT. The only reason I know this is because it's the one that scored to like in 36 or whatever.
Okay, so the ACT, and she's going to be the only one there, and then my guy, my inside man, is going to be proctoring the exam, and after she's finished, he's going to take a look at it and, make some adjustments to her answers. It's like he's just saying it really clearly. Like, your daughter's not really taking the test, even though she's physically taking a test. But, like, this other guy is going to throw hers away and just take it and get, like, a really high score so she can get in.
I got drunk the night before my ACT. And then I was still drunk when I took my ACT. I did fine. Not great, not bad. Just, fine.
This is gonna sound like a brag or something, but like I didn't study for a moment. I thought like everyone was basically forced to take those tests. Maybe my parents just made me do it, but I didn't do amazing either. But I got like above average scores at least. And
yeah, I did fine. I did about what I expected. I probably could have done better had mom or dad sent me to test prep.
Yeah, if I had studied even like one moment, I would have done better too. But I just didn't care. I didn't care to the point that I don't know what my score was, and I have no idea where to find those records.
The only reason I know mine is because, well, I just remember shit.
Good on you, Mr. Fancy Pants, with your memory.
I made a 5.
5 out of what, 35?
A 5. Give or take some digits.
So yeah, that's another part of his scam. I mean, let's just break it down. Like, his scam is basically like essentially twofold. So he would do the cheating on the entrance exams, but it was this elaborate cheating. It was like the kids would have to fly to like either Houston or somewhere in California, and then he would fly out his test prep expert, who they in the movie kind of tried to like pump up as this like ingenious, like nobody knows the ACT like this guy, and it's like his job is to teach kids how to take the test. Of course he can like...
You teach the study guide. His job before that was teaching the study guides, which are usually based on like past tests. So like,
Yeah.
Also, someone in the movie brought up, we're adults. I would probably do much better on one of those tests now if I had to take it than I did when I was 17.
Yeah, one of the other test prep experts in the documentary is like laughing at the idea that this guy that's Rick Singer hired was like some preternatural genius. Like, he's like, I'm the whiz of standardized tests. It's like, it's your job, man. And also, these are for kids in the 11th grade, and you're like in your 40s, and your whole life has been teaching these tests. Anyway, it's just more scamming. And I mean, that guy was getting paid like $10,000 a test or something like that.
Instantly, if anyone wants to pay me $10K to take a test for you, I'll do it.
Yeah, sure. Sign me up.
I have plenty of morals, but $10K is a lot to take a test, and I'll take it. I'll even take one of those like, which Hogwarts house do I belong to test if you want me to.
It's very brave of you.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, there's some details to this story, but I think like the more interesting thing is kind of the broader view of all of this. I guess we can say a little bit more about what exactly happened and how this guy operated. So like, okay, that was the one aspect was cheating on the tests, and then the other one was just he would like ingratiate himself into like these college athletic departments, and it seemed
I
like
think this was the bigger one, by the way. This is how he actually made it happen.
Yeah,
This was more so than the test, because like plenty of people get denied to like very good schools by having high test scores. There's just like the test score mainly matter because it's like a pre-requirement.
Well, it's still important, I think, because like that's just a number. Like there's no sort of negotiating around that number as far as I understand. I mean, I guess there could be if you're just bribing people, but like I think his point was like if you wanted to get into an Ivy League school, you got to get like a 32 or higher out of 35. Yeah. And one other thing is that the guy, the supposed whiz of ACT tests, like he knew how to do just well enough, but to not get 100%, but to get like right over that that edge of 32 or whatever. But anyway. Yeah, so like what did he do with these athletic departments? I agree that this is like his more elaborate, like and probably more effective way of doing what he did.
Well, before he was the college guy, he was a basketball coach. I think a high school basketball coach, but I think he also worked for USC for a bit as like an assistant coach or something.
Yeah,
so he knew like athletic departments, and a lot of universities. I mean, even my state school, and I'm sure well, maybe not your school. Your school sounds a bit strange.
We didn't have any official sports team. Quick aside, I'd heard legends that we once had a basketball team at our school, like in like this late 60s, called the Flaming Smelts or something. It was like...
You seem like the type of school that would have like your sports team would be like art racing, or who could paint picture the fastest.
It wasn't really an art school. It wasn't an art school per se, but a liberal arts school, meaning like people that just read philosophy and bullshit. But no, the basketball team, their whole thing, it was like, I guess it was just a men's only basketball team because patriarchy. But their whole thing was that they would dress in drag for all of their games against other colleges. And
did that help them win?
No, I think they weren't so good. I don't know. I heard about it in the way it was like, it might have not. No, it was real because I heard like faculty and stuff talk about it. But
were there pictures? Because that sounds great.
I didn't see any pictures. No, I heard about it in conversation a number of times.
Neat.
But anyway, that was like that was the closest thing to organized sports that was at my college.
As I was saying, I mean, athletic. I want to call them athletic scholarships, but just like athletic admittance is fairly like common at universities, as in universities need to fill out the ranks of their basketball, baseball, and soccer team, the important sports. They also need to fill out the ranks of their fencing team, their rowing team, their water polo team, lacrosse team, these really important sports.
Horseback riding, sailing.
Yeah, the sports that people watch on TV every weekend. Families have a favorite team for. So since he knew like coaches and was part of that world already, he realized a good way to get students in is like, hey, why don't we just get them admitted as an athlete? No one's going to question the coach of the team. And then once they're admitted. So if they just don't show up for the team, that doesn't mean they get kicked out of college. That just means that they decided not to play, but they had already been admitted. So that was his trick, to basically pay these coaches off and these athletic advisors, I guess, to recommend the student to admissions.
Right. Like, what's funny is the way he would explain it to parents was like it was this elaborate like networking thing, but it was like it was also very just straightforward. It was just, yeah, I pay off the people in the college and then they let your kid in. Like,
I actually felt bad for that one coach that I know the documentary was supposed to make you feel bad for, but I do think that he was
the sailing coach.
Hoodwinked. Yeah,
yeah.
I got the feeling from watching it. I was like, you really were just like, cool, this guy's donating to me.
Yeah, he's just. But I mean, I know what you mean. I know what you mean because he seemed sort of like nice guy. But then part of me like had to like.
I get willful ignorance.
Well, I had to like interrogate my feelings of sympathy for him because I was also like, A, I don't have a fucking sailing job at Stanford. Fuck you. And B, like, you're fine. You're doing just fine. Like he kept saying like, this changed my life, ruined my life. Like it didn't. Like it showed him later being like, he's still like teaching, like he's still a sailing coach. And like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if out of all the people caught up in this whole thing, I guess he was the least
culpable.
Yeah. But also it was kind of like, couldn't you see how obviously this guy was just bribing you? Like, are you an idiot? Like,
it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I mean, I find this is a whole nother topic, but I can't help but think about it. I actually think it's ridiculous that, well, actually, I don't know how it goes for like a sailing coach or a water polo coach. I'm sure it's not the same. But I do know in a lot of university that like the coaches for the actual sports are like the highest paid individuals in like the university system. Like I think fairly often that, like, say a university football coach makes more money than the university president, and definitely more money than like a professor.
Oh yeah, I mean that's because that's where the money is. I mean, colleges are basically just sports clubs. Like, I mean, they're like pro sports teams, but with it's just like a different league, you know. Like, so many colleges like basically wouldn't function without without like at the very least their football and basketball like divisions. And like,
I mean, where does all that money go? They don't pay the athletes. It doesn't make school cheaper for the students. In fact,
like you said,
like
it goes to the fucking coach for one thing.
My university, luckily I missed this. I think the year or maybe 2 years after I graduated, my university decided to start a football team, like a big football team.
Mm-hmm.
And all it did was increase tuition for all the new students.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the university president makes more money than the football coach.
Yeah, like I think where the money probably goes is largely to just the people in the upper end of the administration, and then, like you said, the coaches. I mean, I guess some of it might go back into just general university funds.
Facilities and stuff. Yeah.
But it also probably just goes into like right back into the sports department. So I guess, I mean, the thing with he didn't seem to recruit football or basketball players because you can't fake that as easily. So his specialty was like these niche sports, like we were talking about, like sailing, water polo, horseback riding, shit like that. But he would just take kids who had zero experience with any of these things, or like at least not like competitive experience, and just, yeah, he would just change everything about them down to the details of like photoshopping pictures of them to look more athletic while playing a sport.
Yeah.
They kept showing in the documentary the image of the guy like jumping out of the water in water polo, and like what they talked about was how that picture was like, it was just a really tall kid who was standing on the bottom of the pool. Like, so it wasn't like he was using all of his strength to leap up out of the water. He was just like standing there, and he's like kind of pale and like, you know, like too skinny maybe, and like he then like showed the Photoshop picture and he's like tan and like muscular and like screaming, like looking like really intense.
Yeah.
I think they said another one of these, like they were giving examples of like how did this shit get by people, like so like many people.
The 5'5" guy who was on the basketball team.
Yeah. Or the fucking so I guess getting into maybe the celebrity aspect. I mean, she's barely a celebrity. It was like Lori Loughlin,
Full House
like
woman.
That. Yeah, the lady from Full House. Her daughters were just like these like Kardashian-esque like YouTube influencers. Like,
part of me almost felt bad for the young daughter. Like, hear me out. I know what you're going to say. I felt bad for the young daughter because I get the young daughter just not wanting to go to university, and it really just seemed like she had overbearing parents, and then she has to put up with all this fallout of her mom basically doing this to her.
No, I agree with that. Although I mean, we'll get to it, man. But
she's fine.
Nobody suffered because of this. Nobody. Fucking nobody. Like, everybody's fine. Even the people that had to go to jail for a couple months. I should have looked into it a little more, but I doubt they even served those full terms, as small as they were. But, yeah, so they were like these, like, sort of influencers who had like one of them, are you talking about the one that had like she had like a makeup line or whatever, like cosmetics line?
Yeah, she's
so like the whole point of that was showing that like she didn't need to go to college, really.
Yeah, she
had no like academic interests. She's not an athlete in any way, and she's already making like a living as like a 17-year-old doing YouTube shit. But you're right. I mean, okay, you're right. Like, there was a little fallout, I'm sure. She probably lost some subscribers or whatever because people are like, "You spoiled bitch, your mom sucks," you know. But
yeah,
I can't imagine her life is ruined either.
No, I'm sure her life's fine. I just meant kind of sucks. I would be mad at my parents. I'm sure she was mad at her parents.
Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, part of that though was the the way they got with the way she got into USC and her sister, I think they both got in through the side door.
They did.
Rick Singer special. They took like these grainy, shitty photos of them using a rowing machine in the basement, and that was like enough to get them to be believed to have been like competitive rowers, or what is it, coxman?
Coxman, yeah.
Is it coxman?
I think you're right. No, I remember hearing that term in the documentary.
I heard coxswain, whatever the
Coxswain?
fuck it is. It when you see the word, it looks like coxswain anyway. So. Fuck all of these fucking rich white people sports.
I never played any of the rich white people sports.
Yeah, I guess I didn't either.
One time I played a pickup game of lacrosse and realized that I'm not an athlete.
Lacrosse, I think, is sort of a little bit more legitimate, a little less niche than these other ones, but I take your point.
Actually, every time I've played a sport in my life, I've quickly realized I'm not an athlete. Except for cycling. I'm pretty good at cycling. I like riding bicycles. It's fun. You can do that alone. And there's no points.
You can fence alone. Not really. Just imagining. You can just pretend.
It's like performing katas with your samurai sword.
Yeah, that sounds fun. While riding a horse.
That does sound fun.
Competitive samurai dressage. Just mix all the sports together and then it would be exciting.
I wish I could have went to university on that scholarship.
So you're doing horse dancing.
Competitive samurai dressage.
Doing horse dancing on a sailboat while wielding a very sharp blade.
Makes me think of Anthony Bourdain, which is a silly thing to think about. But like one of my favorite books or audiobooks, I've actually never read the book, but I've listened to the audiobook a couple of times, is Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential, which I highly recommend his reading of the audiobook. But he talks about when he was in university, how he was one of those students who I guess wore a trench coat and carried a samurai sword around everywhere the entire time he was in university, which is just a really funny image for me.
That is pretty funny. I was going to make a tasteless joke, and then I didn't. Good for me. Moving on. I kind of want to talk about, just for a second, the character, the person of Rick Singer. They don't go into his personal life much at all in the documentary. They kind of talk.
He's pretty private about it.
Yeah. I know. I just wrote down some like notes here. What did I write? Singer seems to have nothing but the drive toward amassing scamming power. Maybe this isn't true, but I had an intuition that he's a terrifyingly dull criminal, a robotic villain. Ex-high school basketball coach who was too angry to keep that job. That was the other thing. They said he was really volatile when he was coaching.
He reminded me a bit of Walter White. Breaking Bad.
Yeah, maybe
without the cancer.
Maybe he just broke bad while he was teaching at high school.
Of just carrying it too far. I mean, once he got into it, because he made $25 million. And basically, had he quit like a year before, nothing would have ever happened to him, I bet.
That's a good point. Yeah, like chasing power for its own sake. Yeah, that's a good comparison, actually. And except I wonder how he justified it to himself, because he wasn't trying to save his family or whatever, like Walter White would keep deluding himself. But the way that people characterized him in the kind of early on in the film, people that like were coached by him or whatever, not charismatic, not personable, a bunch of other like equivalent adjectives, and then one of them that I wrote down. I was
surprised by that.
Well, one of them I wrote down word for word was, quote, vibrating tension under the surface at all times, which is like kind of terrifying.
I thought that was interesting, and I also feel like I've met people like that descriptive person.
The vibrating tension at all times.
Yeah, it just always has to be doing something.
My
Though,
ears
when
are burning talking about me.
they talked about how he's uncharismatic, but then also a lot of people referred to him as having the gift of gab. Which
Yeah,
I
that's-
always think of being a very charismatic thing.
Yeah, I think maybe it's like he could turn it on if he really needed to. But like, I think when he was around these kids, he didn't see any reason to like, because he was only trying to charm
Charm the parents. or
the
whatever.
parents. But even those phone conversations with the parents are pretty like flat and like. That's why I said they sounded like a Neil Breen script or something. It's just like,
I think maybe.
oh, hi family, like. Would you like corruption today, please?
No, I took it more of like and I think he probably did this because he realized it was the best way to talk to these people, is that he was coming off as very like an authority on it. It's like, this is how it works, and like, you're not getting in otherwise. I'm the authority on this, so why are you trying to see if you can do this a more honest way? You have to do it this way.
Oh, right on. Yeah, he. That's the cult mentality almost of like, you just have to put your trust into this guy, and that's what people did. They're like,
Yeah.
He's convinced me that he really knows what he's talking about, and I mean, after you get your first like couple of success stories, quote unquote, you know, he's used, and also he just made completely fake, fraudulent resumes for himself. One of the examples is that he would like, he just sounds like a compulsive liar, like a pathological liar. Like, one of the examples was he would just tell people he was on the board of Starbucks for no reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, he would just, I'm sure with all the parents, he really like beefed up his resume with just nothing but lies.
Well, I'm sure the type of parents. Okay, so these are the type of parents who are really worried about their kids getting into the best universities and having this certain amount of prestige. And these are also the type of people who probably only respect other people that that has those credentials, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm remembering now one of the transcripted calls, like where he just starts really rattling off all this, like how expansive his empire is of like independent college counseling. He's like, I have 7,300 employees working for me in North America, and abroad I have 3,800. And he's just like, just bullshit, complete nonsense. Like, it said that he had assistants, but they never talk about anyone else working for him, really. Like, he just had these assistants that he would like just boss around and like, you know, doing like menial tasks. But there were no other people like getting rich off of the scam. It was like, seemed very solo. And that was another thing about him, is that people that knew him like at all said that he was like an intense like workaholic, basically. Like his whole, that's why I said the thing about like, he seems sort of terrifyingly dull to me and robotic, because they said he would like wake up at 4 a.m. every day. And like, you know, I think the only thing he did outside of his work was like exercise. That was the impression I got.
I got that same impression.
And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I tried to watch this like twice, and I was kind of watched it, I guess, like 1.5 times in all honesty. But like on the second time, I was just getting this like really gross feeling of like the emptiness behind this whole thing. Like, it just seems like you said about the Walter White thing, like he's just doing it for its own sake. And maybe that's not true. Maybe he did take like, maybe he's like taking lavish vacations and like doing weird shit with all of his money. But
It said that he had a kid. He had a kid and a wife at one point. Like, obviously he divorced because he's a workaholic, but
yeah,
I'm sure some of it he was doing to make sure that, I mean, people often do stuff to make sure their kid has money when they die or whatever.
yeah. I guess that, I mean,
I don't know if that was a motivation, but I feel like that's often a motivation.
I'm curious. I don't know if I'm curious enough to like after this podcast go and research it more, but like it's just something I was thinking about. Is like, who the fuck is this guy? And like you said, he's, I guess, purposely pretty private about his private life, but or whatever. But like, in any case, the FBI, like, I forget why they even started like following like why the wiretaps even began to begin with.
It began because they had arrested one of the people that used his services for completely unrelated charges. And this guy, to reduce his sentence, basically is just like, hey, I know something else illegal going on that I'm sure you guys would be interested in.
Yeah. That's true. I
don't remember that guy's name.
It doesn't matter. It's just some fucking douchebag. Yeah, just the way these people are willing to just sell each other out immediately is pretty typical as well. I mean, not even really long story short. Short story shorter. They confront Rick Singer. The FBI does. They play like a bunch of these like recordings back to him. He knows he's got nowhere to go. Like he's just caught completely red-handed because of their ridiculously candid conversations on the phone. But then the conversations get even more candid when Rick Singer agrees to like go undercover to bust all these parents. And this is just what he does. He like wears like not even just a wire, but like a hidden camera on him and records all the phone conversations. And when they're showing the montage of that, it's even more ridiculous the way he's talking. And these are actual transcripts where he's like, hey, so I'm calling to let you know I'm being audited. And so you remember how we got Jeremy into that college illegally? Like, I'm exaggerating a little, but that's basically like the language he was using. It was like, no, he's like,
remember how you bought drugs illegally, Josh?
But at one point, he says to the parents, it's so funny. They're not picking up on it at all. They're just like, yeah, so sure, we did that. He's like, yeah, it was all very fraudulent of us, what we did, that thing where you gave me the money because you knew that money could get your kid into the school. I should have gotten a record. I should have took a couple of clips out, but I didn't, whatever. And then, yeah, there's a big trial. There's like 53 people on trial. I think 30 something of them were parents. I guess the other ones are probably just different collaborators and people working for the universities. And like basically nothing came. I mean, like, so, yes, people were found guilty of various like, wire fraud and shit like that. But like, I think the most severe sentence I remember hearing about, at least, was like maybe 6 months jail time for one of the parents.
Yeah.
And like the other celebrity, what's her name? Felicity Huffman, I think.
Mark Hamill's girlfriend.
Who?
She's like Mark Hamill's girlfriend.
Oh, they showed a picture. They showed a picture of her with William H. Macy. I thought
that was Mark Hamill, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
I
remember feeling bad for Mark Hamill when all this was happening because I really...
You're wrong, dude. Your face blindness, of course, is wrong again. It's
no
William
way.
H.
It's
Macy.
not Mark Hamill?
No.
They're the same person, right?
Don't come at me with fucking certainty about who people's faces are, man.
Shit. I'm sorry, Mark. Dragging you under the bus for no reason. I knew you were a good guy.
Fuck, Mark Hamill's not a good guy, actually, but whatever.
Fuck you, William H. Macy. Fuck you.
William H. Macy is a great actor. Mark Hamill is just Luke Skywalker for his whole life.
Mark Hamill is a great voice actor.
That's what people say. I never got into those Batman cartoons as an adult.
It's fine. They were good, though. They won lots of awards for reasons.
I've heard they're good. but yes, this was like slaps on the wrist all around is my point. Felicity Huffman got like 14 days in jail. And I did actually record a short clip of the very last like 2 minutes of the documentary where they're kind of wrapping up like the moral of the story and talking about how like nothing really changed because of the trial.
And how things could have been slightly changed, have, you know, they've been fined and that money actually went to like go and support underserved students.
That's exactly the clip I have right here. If you just listen to it, it's not too long. It's like I
agreed with most of what they said.
It's like 2 minutes. Yeah, me too. Especially like with the there's one test prep guy who I liked. He made some good points here about like the culture of just like these weird like pockets of wealthy people like being such like living in a bubble and so on. But here we go.
Actress Lori Loughlin of Full House was sentenced to 2 months in prison.
Her husband, Massimo Giannulli, was sentenced to 5 months.
Actress Felicity Huffman received 14 days behind bars.
No good will have come out of these sentences or out of this scandal. The fines they've been given, meaningless in terms of hitting them in their pocketbook. What a difference it could have made if we hit them hard and put that money to work for underprivileged kids. That would have been amazing. Then you can say, at least some good came of it.
I try not to blame the families or the parents. I tend to focus the criticism on the colleges and universities that created this system. If they didn't have these loopholes and these preferences for families of privilege, then I don't think there would be these kind of temptations. This scandal is not necessarily a reason for colleges to change their ways, because it makes the colleges seem more exclusive and desirable than ever. If all these rich people are willing to go to these incredible lengths and risk jail time just to get their kids into these colleges, then they must be extremely valuable.
What are we doing to these kids by pounding them into the ground with top 25, top 10, top 5? Because ultimately, where you do go to school has little or no effect on what will happen to you in the future.
The United States has over 3,000 colleges. You have infinite choices.
Forget about USC. Go someplace else. You can get a great education almost any place if you want it. The parents in this case didn't believe that because the bigger school had the prestige, had the glitter, had the glamour, had the bragging rights.
Why did these parents choose to cheat this when their children had so much already? Part of it seems to be when you reach a certain level of wealth, there's a relentless pursuit of the trappings of power. You want to have the fancy car, you want to have the fancy house, whether you need it or not. And it just seems to me that the atmosphere created in high wealth societies is part of the problem.
In America, we love the wealthy and we hate the wealthy. They disgust us and they fascinate us. This story was a perfect opportunity to see how rich people live and the realities of the system being exposed. And so there's something incredibly refreshing to have just a little bit of justice being served in, a sea of injustice.
Just a teeny weensy little sliver of justice. The more I think about that, the less it even seems like anything. It's like a fucking ice cube in a goddamn, I don't know, lava
cup of coffee.
Pool. Yeah, coffee.
Hot coffee, not iced coffee, obviously. Yeah, no, this is obviously rich people are going to use their money to, bend the system, break the system. It's never going to be fair. This is more egregious because, America is we're such, believers in merit-based systems, and you're supposed to get into these institution through your merit, not through your parents' money. But everyone knows that's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, some people do get into them through merit, but
like
often
JD
there's
Vance.
plenty of people that have the merit to, go to these places who don't get in just because to some degree it becomes like a lottery. It's just like a crapshoot of like, sure, you have like all the credentials, you did all the right things, you just didn't lightning didn't strike you.
So like there were a couple of people talking in that clip, but like the guy saying like, just go somewhere else. You can get a great education somewhere else. Like on the one hand, I agree that there's nothing inherently academically better about these Ivy League schools than necessarily all other schools.
I mean, I went to a few colleges, and the community college I went to, when I finally decided to go and actually take college seriously, I learned more at than my university. And I've heard this from a few other people that went to community colleges, that for some reason, I think maybe because they're not prestigious, the professors there take their jobs for teaching more seriously, because maybe they're not necessarily there for research purposes.
Yeah.
And you end up learning more at them.
I mean, there's so many variables, because I went to a community college before I went to my weirdo college with the basketball team that we mentioned earlier. But I had great professors there at community college, but then there were, of course, some that were just half asleep and hated their jobs, understandably. I think the bigger point to me is that even if Harvard or Yale or whatever really had because it's not about learning. It's all just about
the connections.
Yeah, it's about connections and resume padding and why'd you go to college? What's the number one reason people probably give? To get a job.
Drugs.
But it's to get a job. And remember,
it is to get a job.
And now these days, that idea is a fucking joke. You and I both went to college. We had to go to the other side of the globe to get a fucking job, basically. And not even not even a really great job, to be honest.
Well, I did decide to get a bachelor's in art and not a bachelor's in science. Maybe it's my fault. It's not my fault.
No, I don't think so. I think people with all kinds of degrees. If you'd got a bachelor's degree in what, developmental biology, you can't use that for shit. You'd have to just go to higher education. You'd have to go all the way to a PhD, and then even then, you'd be it's still a very competitive job market. Even then, Anyway, watching this documentary just made me not realize. I knew this in some sense, but it solidified the idea in my head more that the entire concept of Ivy League schools is just one gigantic racket. There was a part in the documentary where one guy mentions how, I think it was U.S. News Magazine, and I'm sure other publications do this too.
U.S. News is the big one, though.
That's the big one? Okay.
Yeah, for college rankings, they have been forever.
It says since the 80s, and that they have a single criteria for how they do those rankings, and it was prestige. And I was wondering, how do you measure prestige, by the way?
You measure, I think...
He said it's 0 to do with any academic output, zero to do with the quality of even the sports programs or anything. It's just, how do people view these universities as...
Who went there, who teaches there.
It's probably that, and then
who's been published by that university.
Who gets more applications and stuff, probably.
How many presidents have went to that university?
That, and I'm thinking about it now, and it probably is just whoa, look at all the people that apply to Harvard this year, and look how exclusive they are. They only let in 1 out of every 10,000 people that apply. That means they're prestigious. I'm guessing, but how else could you do it other than being totally subjective? But those, like you said, that ranking is considered very important, and it's considered important by the schools themselves.
I mean, I've even thought of it as being important before.
Sure, like because it looks official. It's like a chart with
Like,
and the thing is when you look at it, it doesn't say this is based on nothing. Like you imagine, oh, they've really done like a well-rounded like deep dive in the research on these places. They probably using like multi-tiered criteria to figure it out. And it's like, no, which is most prestigious.
In a different time in my life, I really wanted to go to law school. And then like I gave up the dream when I realized that I wasn't going to get into like a top tier, top 10 or whatever law school, which I had convinced myself that you had to get into if you really wanted to make a career as a lawyer, which is probably not true. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Probably not. But like you would definitely have to sort of sell your soul if you wanted to make a lot of money as a lawyer.
Yeah.
You'd end up like doing corporate law probably. But
it's very much a myth of a lot of this stuff, not just like law school, but just school in general. Is like it's a myth that's very easy to be sold that you have to go to one of these prestigious like places if you really want to make it.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, obviously it does work in some ways. Like if you have like Yale or Harvard on your resume, you're probably going to get a job that someone who doesn't.
You're probably going to know a lot of people who can help you get those jobs too.
That's the big thing.
People you go to school with, etc. I don't know. School became more like competitive, obviously, because more people are going to school. 70s, we get like student loans, the first like government student loans, which in a way are good. Like it's good that like people can afford college, but also since student loans started, basically college prices have become astronomical. Like they increase every year. They've increased every year since student loans because colleges realized kids could get money to go to school, and they're like, well, they can just get more and more money from the government, so we can just keep raising the prices because the government's going to give us money, which is kind of like the same grift that happens in like health insurance or housing. So
yeah, and
then I know like California's public universities used to be free before the 70s, and quite a few other states were free because the public university was supposed to be for public, or they were very cheap.
Yeah, because
you could pay for them with a summer job.
Yeah, some things were. I mean, I'm not going to idealize the 50s and 60s because they're obviously a lot of the same problems and worse and whatnot. But like, there was a time when like not every single area of life was based on like transactional relationships and commodifying everything, and now it is. And it's not only is it, but it's like vastly socially acceptable for it to be. Like so many people probably, if you told them about this scam, would be like, well, it's not right exactly what they did, but it's good that there's like intense competition for colleges, because like it's really easy to draw a parallel to like the way people talk about the free market, right? Like, oh, well, in the free market, the best products and the best ideas naturally rise to the top. And it's like, demonstrably not true. We've talked about that a million times, and anyone who listens to us understands that. But like, it's the same concept with these fucking Ivy League schools. Like,
I actually think universities would be a lot better if they were treated like, every other like high school and down, like primary schools or whatever. K through 12. I was losing my words there. And like there was actual public options that were completely free, and that because then I think people would just choose to go to those more often than not.
Yeah, which is why, I mean, it's going to be hard to reverse the trend. I mean, just like it is with all of these areas of life, like, because people have just accepted, people seem to think that it's always been the way that it is now. And
it's fairly new. Like the way it is now is like actually, since the 70s, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and so, I mean, like, what does the solution look like to you and to me? Like, I mean, part of me wants to just say, like,
I think education's great. I don't think the solution is getting rid of education, by the way. I don't know if you're going to go there.
Why would I say that?
I have no clue.
I'm not an idiot. I'm saying like the extreme version would be just like ban privatized education, or the more reasonable solution I would say is, like you're saying, just create a like robust network of higher level learning institutions that are public goods, like they do in Europe, for example, where you get paid to go to college.
Like Germany,
Sweden, like those are the two examples I think at the top of my head. But
according to this PolitiFact thing I have put up, there's at least 9 advanced countries that offer free college, but they only list Germany. I was looking at something about like when colleges were free in America, which not every state had free college, but before basically FAFSA, college was free in quite a few states.
I do know
Bernie Sanders had brought up at one point.
I do know in Sweden and I believe Denmark for sure, not only do you go to college for free, but you get
a stipend.
Yeah, you get a monthly stipend to live. Like you can live in like a decent little apartment as a college student. You don't have to pay like all these like fees upon fees upon fees to some private corporation. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Even my school, my little shitty school, was like overpriced for what it was, for sure.
Yeah, my state school was overpriced for what it was. I'm still paying for it, which part of that's from me being very irresponsible about how I dealt with my loans, but some of it's just me being angry that I even had to deal with it.
Well, you're not alone there, man. You know.
I know, we've talked about it before. Actually, sometimes I think coming to Korea or moving to Korea to work made me less likely to pay off loans, because originally I came here so I could start doing that, but then I just started meeting all these people from Europe and abroad who just thought it was ridiculous the way college expenses worked in the States. I'm like, yeah, fuck, it is. Fuck this. Why the fuck I don't want to be a part of this system.
The only time I ever feel bad about not paying my loans back is when they send shit to my parents' address still. And then I have to hear it from them.
No, I mean, I only feel bad when I get worried that I'm going to be destitute and poor because the systems aren't going to get better when I get older.
Yeah. I wouldn't be too worried about, I mean, although, I don't know, like debtors' prisons are coming back into style, so you're just going to have to stay out of the country for a while.
Working on it. So yeah, I don't know if there's like a good fix, but I do think that some of this stuff would work itself out if we just had fairer systems altogether and that things were more just like public goods.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the good fix to this problem, because then even if we don't just send a demolition crew to the Harvard campus like I kind of would like them to do, fine, you can have your little like insular Harvard, Yale, whatever worlds, but like for the rest of us, like give us a decent education that doesn't ruin us financially. It is possible. I mean, Jesus Christ, we talk about this all the time, but God damn it, fucking Biden just increased the goddamn defense budget again. I mean, come on.
Enough to pay off our student loans. Everyone's.
Oh yeah. Someone did the math on like I mean, there's always like these kind of stats that come up where it's like, it was like something like even with half of a year's worth of the defense spending, you could like house every homeless person in the country, or like not even a year, like 6 months or something. I don't remember exactly what it was.
The statistic, this is on the housing thing, but one of the statistics that's gotten to me forever is there's more empty houses in America than homeless people in America.
Yeah, like way more as well. Quite a bit more. So I think we've covered the scandal pretty much as well as we need to. I mean, would you agree? Yeah,
I think so. You want to just move on to recommendations, or?
Yeah, Yeah, I saw in my notes this one little thing that I liked. I think I texted you about yesterday when we were talking about the how this whole Ivy League concept in general, I think, is just a big kind of like Ponzi scheme. It's the same problem with like, oh, Coca-Cola is so wealthy because Coca-Cola is just the best drink. You know, it's that kind of like, it's this totally false meritocracy shit that like the best things naturally just rise to the top in a free, unrestrained free market. But anyway, like in how we were saying, like that US News ranking is just based on prestige. And the guy who brings it up in the documentary points out that prestige is, you know, a French word. And in the original French just means deceit, which I thought was great.
That is great.
I'm going to keep that factoid in my head for the rest of my days. Next week, we're going to talk about a strictly Korean thing for once. Usually we only talk about our home country rather than our current country of residence. We're going to talk about the terrible, terrible Seoul ferry disaster, which made international news. Maybe some of you are aware of it. We're going to go kind of deep in detail about it. And it's not going to be a particularly funny episode. I guess I'll say that. But
wow,
that is the plan. Well, maybe it will be, you know.
We'll see.
Tears of a clown, something. Okay. Are you ready to recommend? I think I have a feeling you are.
Yeah, I know my recommendation this time. I'm going to recommend another K-drama. I feel like I've recommended K-dramas for like the past 3 episodes. Maybe it's only the past 2 episodes. I really like the K-drama Sky Castle, which chronicles rich Korean parents and the lengths they'll go to make sure their kids get into a Sky University. A Sky University is basically Korea's version of the Ivy League. It's Seoul National, Korea University, and Yonsei University, which are the top 3 basically in that order. I think it might actually not be in that order. I think it's Seoul National, then Yonsei, then Kodae, but doesn't really matter. It chronicles the extreme lengths and amount of money that Korean parents will use to get their precious kids into these universities.
Yes. And
it's kind of a parallel to this story. Like, in fact, I watched this documentary with Ye, and it's just like, oh, it's just Sky Castle in America. Yeah, every country does this, and every country does do this.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element that I feel like is a little different in Korea, which is like where you start preparing your child basically out of the womb for college, which is basically the industry you and I are in. We're kind of a part of that in a way. We're part of the English side of it, but
I think that's happening more and more in America these days, by the way.
Except it's not with bilingualism. It's just with other shit. But yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more like tiger parenting or whatever people call it.
Right. Tiger moms. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I told you I saw bits and pieces of that because Haewon was really obsessedly watching it, and she'd watched a bunch of it without me, so I was like in the middle of it, and I was like, I can't catch up with this.
Man, it's a very good drama, and I mean, I was watching it off of coming out of working in Daiichi, but so much of it takes place in Daiichi and about the whole lifestyle around Daiichi and about like the moms in Daiichi. It was really relatable to me after working in Daiichi, and I could see you enjoying it for those reasons.
I'll have to check it out because I have been working in for those don't know, which is probably most people listening. Daiichi is just like so everyone knows Gangnam, or as you might call it, Gangnam, like Gangnam style. Daiichi is the like Gangnam within Gangnam. It's like the richest, sort of more elite area within
family neighborhood
within an elite district. And it's where, and most of the
famous
high-end
for their
English academies.
Students. Yeah, and math academies. It's not just the English academies. They're famous for their academies.
Yeah.
Like, all of their academies. Like, since we work in English academies, we probably think of that first. But there's academies for literally everything. I had some students at Ducks who went to skateboarding academy, which I always thought was ridiculous.
I haven't heard of that one. Yeah, I get really kind of bummed out when I talk to my students about that stuff, and they're like telling me they go to like 5 academies. Like, I'm like, what are you gonna do on Saturday? And they're like, well, I'm gonna go to my second English academy because I go to another one besides this one. Then I have math academy, science academy, speech academy, like essay writing academy. It's just, and these are rather young kids. Like, it's only going to get worse for them as they become, I mean, I'm talking like elementary school, and like the pressure is only going to keep mounting when they become middle schoolers, and then high school is where it gets like literally dangerous because kids fucking kill themselves because of this shit.
Yeah, but the drama I recommended, Sky Castle, goes into that too.
I'll have to check it out.
Kids killing themselves about this shit.
Damn. That's a Netflix one, right?
Yeah, it's all on Netflix. I highly recommend it. It's very good, and it's a really I mean, it's dramatized, but I think it's more accurate than it should be. Like, really, kids anywhere shouldn't be under that type of pressure.
Yeah, I'm more interested now to check it out. Shall I go?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I'm going to recommend 2 things quickly. One is a movie that I just found randomly on the Watcha app, which I think I've mentioned before in the podcast. It's just a Korean like equivalent of Netflix. And I had never heard of it. It stars Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, who I think has become a good actor post Harry Potter career. He's so rich that he can afford to just do like indie movies.
He's been in some really good movies.
Yeah. And I think he's a good actor. It's a pretty new movie. It's just from last year. And it's about a real life story about these anti-apartheid activists in South Africa.
I really wanted to see that. I didn't get around to it yet, though.
Oh, so you've heard of it. Okay. It's called Escape from Pretoria. The Korean title is just Prison Escape. But not like translated into Korean, just phonetically written in Korean as Prison Escape. I always find it a little amusing how they change some of the titles of movies, but it's not like they're translated. They just change them to different English words and then write them in Korean characters. Like Inside Llewyn Davis, the Coen Brothers movie, was just Inside Llewyn. Like,
yep.
Why take off the Davis?
Gotta keep it short, man.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. In any case, tangents. The new chant for our podcast.
His movie Swiss Army Man's really good too.
I don't know why I've been putting it off or something. I just haven't seen it yet.
So good. I think you'd love it.
Everyone tells me that, and I should just watch it. Oh, maybe today. Maybe today's the day to finally do it. So it's I'm kind of a sucker for certain genres of movies. Like even if I think they might not be good, prison escape movies I think are one of those. I've just realized recently from watching this, and that's what it is. So they become political prisoners in South Africa during the height of apartheid, I guess, in the I want to say 70s, late 70s. And it's just this really tense, like, thriller of these guys escaping from jail. And I won't say whether or not they are successful, because that would ruin some of the fun. But part of it involves the Daniel Radcliffe character, like, literally, like, meticulously making keys, like, and not just a couple keys, but like dozens of keys out of wood that he gets from like the wood shop, whatever, woodworking area in the jail. Anyway, it's a good movie. It's got some like interesting politics in it. But that's not like it's more just based on this like trying to get out of prison plot line surrounding that. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
And I also want to recommend just a website, thegrayzone.com. Gray with an A, Gray. I knew about this website for a while. I like Max Blumenthal, I believe, is the founder of it. I'm pretty sure, and I like his journalism. But I've been watching some of like their YouTube stuff and reading more and more of their articles, and yeah, I just realized I really like them. I would say for me they're on par with, I don't know, like the standards like Jacobin and Current Affairs. They've got a little bit of a different feel than those as well, but I mean more or less the same politics, I guess. But yeah, they've got a good group of writers, journalists over there, just doing political reporting, international, domestic, everything like that. So check out the Gray Zone, and that's that.
Let's say goodbye. Goodbye, podcast. Goodbye, cruel world. Goodbye.
Goodbye, website. Goodbye,
yes,
Twitter.
Goodbye, heatdeathpod.com. Goodbye, Twitter, heatdeathpod.
Yes, check out our things. Again, feel free to write to us. What was your experience with college like? Were you a side door person with fairly well-off parents? Did you go to Harvard? Did you go to USC?
Just a quick aside, we prefer negative comments to downvotes.
All right. That's right. I did literally. I was like, what, do we? All right. Yes. Yeah, sure. Just give it to us straight, Doc. Also, if you do like us, on the off chance, reviews. We hear reviews are important, especially the iTunes variety of reviews. But so that would be nice to get a few more of those. Maybe we'll even throw you some kickback money, like a certain Mr. Singer.
It's doubtful, though.
Yeah. Do you accept cacao coins or whatever the fuck? All right, that seems like the signal to sign off for today. Until next time. Bye.
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?